The story is about Ralph, a 12-year-old boy who was always recording moments from his life and recording eccentric pioneers of late-night cable television. How does the story unfold? Guess you'll have to stick around to the end to see. Hello and welcome to Comedy Recap. Today we will give you a recap of the film VHS. Spoilers ahead, obviously. Without further ado, let's dive right into it. The movie starts off where we are seeing through the lens of a camera that is used by Ralph, a 12-year-old boy wanting to record every moment that he possibly could. We then see Ralph recording his parents and then pranking his mother as well. Ralph then gets told to go outside to play by his father. Ralph is then seen with his friend trying to light a firework, where Josh fails to record the good part. Ralph is then seen in his room introducing his friend Josh. He then records a channel on his television, which is called Painting with Joan, where Joan is painting a beautiful landscape portrait. Ralph then flips through a bunch of channels and selects a channel where an ad for security is displayed, in which a thief gets brutally shot by the police in front of a little girl. And the girl looks at the camera and thanks Umbra's security. The channel is then switched back to Painting with Joan, where Joan is seen painting spaceships, and also painted a character based on her reversely sitting on the shoulders of a man while she is dunking a basketball into a hoop. Ralph then switches to a bunch of channels, from a news channel to a guy explaining an antique item to a rock and roll channel. The channel is then changed to one where a lady who is giving an interview tells the host how the VHS recorder was very important to people, and that how one day it will be available and be carried by every individual in their pockets. She then tells the host that people will start using the VHS recorder every moment they could, and that people will fall off cliffs while recording themselves. Ralph is next seen panicking and breathing heavily while he's sprinting into his room. We can also hear his father screaming and fighting with his mother, where the recording quickly transitions to Ralph's parents' wedding. Ralph is then seen recording himself while jumping on his bed and singing a vulgar song, to which his father screams from outside the room to turn the volume down. A few clips are then shown where Ralph is recording random stuff. A clip then plays where Ralph is seen playing with his action figures and his parents walk in on him and tell him that they were leaving for a few hours. Ralph is then seen inviting his friend Josh over. They both are then seen recording a channel on their television. This time, the channel consists of explicit content where actors are trying to explain global warming and at the same time portraying explicitness. Ralph then changes the channel where we see a fitness channel in which an actor in the back who couldn't handle the heat of the exercise comes in the middle and throws up, and the channel cuts off. Ralph again changes through some channels and selects one where two women who are dressed in a prison uniform explain their stories of how they got there. The women told that when they were young, they showed their talents to each other. In turn, up until a girl named Rachel came to show her talent, the channel got switched. Another ad started to play, which was about a cream to remove back pain. The girl who had a lot of pain applied the cream and is seen flexibly overcoming her problems. The channel then switched to two presenters who are presenting cocaine cushioned into two briefcases. The channel is switched to a channel where two people are suspiciously looking at security footage, and the guy briefly mentioned, "I think they're onto something." The channel then got switched back to the two prison ladies. They explained that Rachel came onto the stage and tapped a stick onto her hat and pulled a few playing cards from her hat. All the girls were weirded out by the trick, as the lady described that people don't usually pull cards out of hats. Rachel then asked for a volunteer, and the blonde lady volunteered. Rachel then asked the volunteer to pick a card and to show it to the audience and not to her. The lady told with a fearing tone that Rachel didn't know about the card. Rachel then proceeded to shuffle the deck and held out the card that the volunteer Paulina had picked. All the girls in the audience went into a certain shock and started calling Rachel out as a witch. Paulina stepped in front of Rachel, defending her by saying that there are laws even for a witch. She then stated that to fill a bathtub with water and put Rachel in it, and if she floats, she is a witch. Rachel, who was confused, frightened the crowd even more by saying that it was just a magic trick. The girls later tied her up to the house and burned her down, to which the two women were life sentenced. The channel is changed to one where a cowboy is about to harvest the intestines from a living animal, where a little kid is telling him that the animal is alive. With a sudden transition, we see Ralph standing in the place of the little kid, and the camera cuts off. Ralph is then again recording random stuff. A clip then goes on where Ralph is asking his mom about a haunted house and ensuring his mom that he wouldn't go there. Ralph then sneaks off with his friend Josh to the cinema to watch a movie, where he realizes that his dad was also there with a young girl to watch the movie. Ralph got confused and left. Ralph is then seen with Josh in the day, first exploring an old destroyed car, and then Ralph asked Josh if he wanted to get married, to which Josh replied yes, since it's what they needed to do. Ralph also replied yes when asked the same question. Ralph and Josh are then seen at night under a blanket discussing about ghosts. They then turn on the television. Paint with Joan is playing, where Joan is guiding how she sleeps, and then tells us that she slept with a blanket. She then guides us to sleep and watches, and the channel gets changed immediately. We then come to a channel which is also explicitly portrayed. 3 girls from outer space land on Earth on a man's farm. They then are in prison due to their Swedish looks, and they then finally manage to escape by performing an explicit act on the man in prison with them. We then come to a channel where a girl is sitting with her family on a couch and another girl is singing beautifully. The clip then changes a bunch of times and comes to one where Ralph is going with his mother to walk and asks his father to come along, and his father denies by saying that he was going to the cinema. Ralph is then seen playing the piano, and his parents walk in on him and tell him that they were leaving for a few hours. Ralph again calls his friend over, and he and Josh decide to go to the haunted house this time around. They finally managed to go inside and found a dusty piano. Josh told Ralph how creepy would it be if a ghost played the piano, and then demonstrated by playing a creepy tone on the piano. Ralph and Josh left, and after a few seconds the piano started to play. Ralph turned the camera around back to the piano, and a creepy female ghost was standing near the piano playing it. Ralph and Josh panicked and tried to escape. Ralph then saw a television which had him inside it. Ralph thought it was necessary for him to plug it in his VHS recorder. After plugging in, Ralph and his friend got pulled in, and first started seeing Ralph's parents' wedding, and then started to see all the characters from the television they had always watched, from Joan to the 2 prison ladies to the cowboy guy, and everyone else interacting with each other's lives. Ralph's mother then came and explained to him how she met Ralph's father. Ralph and Josh are then seen fleeing while throwing the camera away, where hysterically, the 2 people pick up the camera and say, "I think we're onto something." Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.